For today's video, I'll go through my AFL fantasy team. So AFL fantasy came out today, so you can go ahead and start building your teams now. But yeah, I enjoyed AFL fantasy in 2021. I think I finished about 600 or 700 around that mark, and hopefully can improve on that this year. So a lot of picks I'm pretty keen on. With the structure, not too worried about the structure at the moment. I know there's a few capable defender rookies this year, but it just depends on whether they get opportunity. But yeah, posted this team on Twitter a few hours ago, made a few small changes. I did have George Hewitt in the defense, but realized his scoring is probably more capable for Supercoach than AFL Fantasy. So, yeah, got rid of him. But nonetheless, so my defender line, my two premiums, main ones are Aaron Hall and Jake Lloyd. Aaron Hall, a little bit underpriced in enormous scoring power, so if he looks good in the preseason, he'll stay there. And Jake Lloyd, I started Jake Lloyd last year for peak at top dollar, and it was pretty painful because he dropped around 200k at one point. So he was a disastrous starting pick. Not sure I want to start him again this year, but we'll see. Just for team balance at the moment, I'd love to turn him into Jack McRae in the midfield, but we'll see. Just depends on team balance later in the season or later in preseason. Braden Maynard, I'm pretty keen on if he plays midfield. I think he's got all the great attributes for a midfielder. There's a highlight of him on Collingwood Instagram, bursting from a stoppage. So, durable, turns up every game, super competitive, tackles hard, lots of great things going for Maynard. So all I want to see is that mid time, and I'll happily pick him. I think he'll be a great midfielder if he gets that chance. So spending a bit of time with the midfield group at the moment, which is good. And James Sicily, only 510k. At 510k, it's whatever. I think you just pick him, and hopefully he makes, I don't know, 150 to 250k, something like that. Very capable scorer. A lot of points to go around in that Hawthorn defense. So that's one to watch. But at his price, I don't really care. Just want him to score, a bit whatever I don't know what he's priced at. But yeah, you got a 30% discount. So look, if he can get to near high 600s, then that'll be a win. And then the rookies, Sin might play early. Gould, who knows? Hamling should play, and McDonough is I think he's like 26 or something. So he was in the same draft as Jaden Short and Caleb Daniel. So when I was reading about that draft, it was said that the three best kicks in the draft: Short, McDonough, and Daniel. And now he's made AFL. So see if he gets a game for Essendon. So the midfield, so my top three mids, I think, will be, I guess no one would have picked the top three mids last year, but going into the year, I like Took Miller, Jack Steele, and Tom Mitchell. So Miller and Steele, just ultimate professionals, get it done every week, leave it all on the ground. So Took Miller's work rate is probably the best I've ever seen. It's not just covering a huge amount of ground; it's the sprint efforts to get to the ball. Watching him is quite unbelievable, to be honest. I can't believe, it just pushes the human physical capabilities. I think just the way he plays, he's unreal. And then Jack Steele, I started him last year, worked out pretty well. I think a lot of people couldn't get to him, but Steele is, I've said enough on Steele on this channel regardless, but unbelievable player and great fantasy friendly game. So keep Jack Steele. So they'll be the two captains as well as Tom Mitchell. So Tom Mitchell hasn't had a full preseason for 2 years. Sounds like he'll get a full preseason. I'm just trying to think if anything's gone wrong with him. Don't think so. But yeah, Tom Mitchell, the full preseason, I fully expect to be a top three scoring player. So new coach, does that mean anything for him? I don't think so. It seems very hard to put him anywhere else, but predominantly inside mid. So still see how he goes in the preseason, but pretty confident that he'll be one of the best picks this year. So one of the best fantasy friendly games, has that outside game as well where he just racks the pill up. And when he gets the ball, he always disposes of it. Doesn't really get caught on the ball, just gets rid of it quick. So we like that. My third midfielder is Pat Lipinski. So priced at 66. I think he's capable of. Well, I think 2 years ago with 40% CBAs, he averaged around 80. So with a bit more opportunity, maybe he's 20 points underpriced. So see how that goes. I'm a fan of Lipinski. I mean, he was behind midfielders that ranged from Brownlow contenders to All-Australian squad members. So very tough competition. you look at Isaac Cumming last year, he was a high pick. I think Lipinski was picked 28. Cumming just need that opportunity, but when you have Shaw, you have Whitfield, Zach Williams when he was good. When you're behind those sort of players, it's very hard. So Lipinski's just behind all Australian squad caliber players and better. So I think with a bit of opportunity, I like him. Huge work rate, huge work ethic. A few deficiencies, but we'll see if he passes the eye test in the preseason. But I do like him. I think he's a good player. Matt Real, only 460k, just needs a full preseason, and he should comfortably outscore that price. Not expecting huge things from him, but with a bit of continuity in the body, see how he goes. And then the rookies, very much whatever. Finn McRae's grown a bit, put on size, impressing in the preseason. Dacos just can find the pill pretty easily. Got to be careful with the Victorian players who haven't played much. We saw a lot of the Vic players in the 2020 draft just not do well. So hopefully it's not the same for 2021 players in that draft, but it is a midfielders draft, so a lot more capable scorers in this draft for fantasy purposes. Greg Clark, mature ager, Cooper Stevens, rated pretty highly at the Cats, hasn't got a game yet, and Jack Carroll might play some outside game for the Blues at some stage, but don't really know. See how he goes in the preseason if he's named round 1. So the Rucks, I'll pick Grundy for now, seems the safest option and most durable option. But then it's pretty wide open, the Ruck 2 slot. So I think Gawn's still an okay pick. He scored pretty well in fantasy, even with Jackson. I think Gawn should be top 3 at least still. But he's just very expensive. So I have Darcy for now. A little bit of durability issues, but if Witts looks good and he is named round 1, off an ACL it's a bit tough, but I might go with Witts, who's a fair bit cheaper. And that would open up some, I don't know, make one of these rookies better or something on the bench, like add Josh Ward or something like that, and Neil Erasmus, who I think both will play round 1, but very early. I'm still guessing at this point, but look, having great preseasons. And then on the bench, Sam Hayes, hopefully he plays. Also got Comben down here, but probably not going to score much. And does have competition for his spot. So Ruck's one to watch. And then the forward line, so Josh Dunkley, just massive ceiling. I don't want to miss out on that. And one of my favourite players. Doesn't need huge bid minutes to be an acceptable pick. If he had, to be honest, I think he'd go 130, 135, I think, with full mid-time and full preseason, 100% fit. But he won't get that. So he might get around 40-50% CBAs again. And he still went, I think, maybe 115, 120, something like that. So see how he goes. But really fantasy friendly game. Huge work ethic and a work rate. So does a lot around the ground too. So big fan of Dunkley. I've got Cornelio at 700k. So Cogs is an interesting one because he was pretty shocking last year. But in an interview, he said that he's the best he's felt in 2 years, physically and mentally, and he's ready to get back to his best, something like that. But that's what we want to hear, and he's been a 90+ player for like 6 years straight, so you don't forget that overnight. But he did look very devoid of confidence last year, so see how he goes. And he's the captain, so one of the 3. The next 2 I have is Heaney and Butters, so a little bit iffy on these 2, but Heaney more mid-time, apparently Butters full mid-time. Heaney was a disaster last year because he had a bung ankle, and he said that multiple times throughout the year, so he was a bit of a write-off last year, but did okay after the bye last year, in 2021. So he didn't train until the bye round, so pretty much didn't train the whole year. So with a bit of training, there's a lot of upside here. Star player, pretty cheap. So durability, a little bit of an issue, but I think you'll find that with a lot of the forwards anyway. But then Butters, more mid-time, full preseason. Said he wasn't at 100%. Late last year anyway, so see how he goes in the preseason. Kerno had some pretty big games before he did his knee, so only 340k, got through the last 4 games of last season, so I think he'll be a really good pick for us at 350k. So can have those spike games where just boom in price because I don't know, kicks a bag of 4 goals, but also doing a bit of work with the midfield group, so maybe he plays as a key forward but pushes up the ground as well. So as you see with a lot of key forwards. So see how he goes. But could even get small stints in the midfield, so more opportunity for points there. So I like the Kerno pick because he's very cheap, and yeah, see how he goes over the preseason. And the mid rookies, whatever. Skinner, hopefully he plays. The Conning, I think will play. And Hollands, not as confident as Hollands as I was probably a week ago. Just reading the Gold Coast Suns Big 40 board, and they're not sure if he's best 22 or not. But he's a star. They want to get games to him. He'll definitely play this year. It's just whether he'll play round 1 or not. But they did say that they could have played him last year. They just held him back because he was coming back from nasty ACL. So that's the team. We've got Dylan Stevens here. He's 500k. It's a rip. That's a rip off. So nonetheless, yeah, that's the team. Yeah, keen to watch Maynard and Lipinski. Probably have too many Collingwood players, I think. But yeah, might be a new look midfield for Collingwood. But they still have Adams, and maybe DeGoey gets off. Hopefully not for Supercoach's sake, but we'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching the video, and let me know which players that you want to pick in fantasy this year.